All right, man. Well, let's get started talking about you guys, Cast the Dragon, and how
Okay.
that came about. First off, just so we can get going, give me a little background. Let me start over. Act like we just haven't talked.
Okay.
Okay. Give me a little background on yourself and how you got involved in Cast the Dragon, and I guess music in general, if you want.
So, yeah, I think around when I was 14, 15, my brother had his own band and they had a bass player they kicked him out and they told me to get a bass guitar. I wanted to be a drummer, but I couldn't afford a kit. So I ended up getting a bass and learned how to play pretty much instantly. I had all the notes taped down the neck and just started doing bands from then on and hadn't really stopped. So that was around, I think, 92, 93 that started. So, and then played in various, like my local Christian band scene and then I grew up around pretty close to Oakland, San Francisco, in a place called Antioch. And so had a lot of music going on there. There's a place called The Scream. It was a Christian venue that Frank Tate, who did 5 Minute Walk Records, it was his thing he did before he started that label.
Yep.
And
Okay.
he would bring a lot of bands up from Southern California, and then all the Tooth and Nail bands from up North Coast and stuff would come down. I played a lot of local bands there, and then I was out of the Christian music scene as far as being in bands for a while and played in a lot of local punk bands from where I was at. And then, lived in Denver for a while, was in a band with the drummer from Five Iron Frenzy.
Cool.
And then after that, I moved back to California and just started trying to get back into different bands and stuff. Cast the Dragons, kind of like I started out as a solo thing that I was just going to play everything on it. I did this little demo here. Mike Knott did the cover art on it.
Absolutely, Mike did that. Yeah, that's Mike.
So
Very cool.
I did 10 songs. I played everything on it. And then we redid all those songs because I liked where it was going and I had some other songs I wanted to do, but I'm not skilled enough drummer to pull off some of the other ones. So that's, I called Jim because we had done the PTSD record with Knott and see if he wanted to, because he had a home studio and he was into it. And yeah, he knocked the drums out, did a fantastic job. And then Sean Browning, who's he does Rottweiler Records and is in Grave Robber. I've gotten to know him online, and he suggested contacting Scott from Leper about doing some keyboards, and Scott was into it. So just kind of, I don't know, it went pretty easy from there. They had their parts done pretty quick, and I almost had the record done like 2 years ago, and then had a computer crash. I didn't have anything backed up and lost all my bass, guitar, and vocals. Had a few computer problems from then on, and then finally got everything worked out and was able to re-record all my stuff. And then Jim suggested I talked to Brian about mixing the album because Brian Gray from The Blamed had just started getting into recording and mixing and stuff, and he offered to mix it for free. So
cool.
That, and he did a great job on it. And then,
yeah, it sounds great, man, and it sounds legit too. Like, I mean, we'll get into where you go musically with it, but as far as the genre, I guess, if you call it that, definitely it fits that. Definitely so. Yeah, that's interesting. I actually just interviewed Sean yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm doing like a week of like Halloween theme type stuff,
Excellent.
And, I love Grave Robber. I think they're great.
Oh gosh, band's amazing.
Yeah, they're great, man. But I interviewed him in character.
Oh, okay.
And that was very cool. But yeah,
I don't know talking with that rasp voice for so long. I've seen him do interviews as
well, Yeah, and what's funny is that I had to actually stop him at the beginning and go, "You're gonna have to tone it down, dude." I said because I'm not being able to hear what you're doing, what you're saying. But it still went cool. I think that's kind of the cool mystique of it is that I think people that watch the video are going to be like, "What's he saying?" you know. So yeah, but and Brian, again, I've known Brian for years. That's pretty cool. Yeah, he's definitely a hard worker, and he loves music, man. He loves all kinds of music. So that's pretty cool. Um, did Jim? So you approached Jim about it? I
Yeah,
guess.
I just emailed him and he was totally into it. So
Cool. Okay.
which I was really excited because I'm like, it's been like, I don't know, from when I was super young to do a punk record with Jim on drums is like,
Right.
that's amazing to me. So I still like get it. I don't know. It's
I get it.
mind blowing. Every time I listen to the record, I'm like, man.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. I just did some stuff with my band with the guys from the Living Sacrifice, man, and it was the same thing for me.
Oh gosh, yeah. What's your band?
It's Alar, ALAR. It's an industrial metal band.
Cool, I'll check
We
that
do
out.
like industrial metal stuff, and but yeah, Rocky's going to do some guitar on one of them. Arthur just recorded bass.
Nice.
But yeah. So for me, that's just like whoa, because I mean, I've been into those guys for years.
Right.
Back to you. So what sort of music do you listen to, and who's your favorite artist? And I know that's a loaded question, but
So
do your best to kind of,
I'm one of those. I listen to a lot of stuff. Like favorite artist is probably the Ramones. I'm pretty fanatical about them.
Cool.
And yeah, that's kind of how I met Mike Knott. I commissioned him to do a painting of the Ramones. So
cool, man.
I have an oil painting by Mike Knott of the Ramones in my house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can probably say that.
Right.
Did you ever get a chance to meet him?
Couple times, like I saw. Trying to think what year that was. We saw LSU. It was like a show down in Southern California. I drove down to. It was LSU, Choir, Undercover, and Altar Boys all played a gig that we saw. It was right after the Rodney King riot thing happened, so I'm trying to remember what year that is. Can't. But I met him briefly there.
Okay, are you talking about the Ramones?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm talking about Mike now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, dude, I know you know Mike. No, I was talking about. I was like, wait a minute.
Sorry, I saw the Ramones 3 times, and I've met Marky and CJ, the bass player who replaced DD. So just from I saw Marky playing when he was playing with the Misfits for a while.
Oh, nice.
That was when Jerry Only was singing in Marky Ramone and Dez from Black Flag. So I saw that lineup, and then I met Marky one time, and then I saw CJ Ramone a couple of years ago do a solo show. And
cool. The only time I saw them was they were doing a promotional tour, I guess, they were at Tower in Austin.
Okay.
And they were doing like a signing thing. And I went in there just to check it out, see what it was like. And holy crap, dude. Joey Ramone, man, that guy, he was like, I swear he was 8 feet tall, man. That guy was tall. Yeah. But no, it was pretty cool, man. I didn't get to meet him, but they just kind of walked by. I think it was for their Mondo Bizarro tour.
Okay, yeah, it was the first tour I saw them on.
Yeah.
I was with Social Distortion, and then the opening band was a group called Overwhelming Color Fast, and they were from my hometown. I knew the drummer really well. He worked at the record store I frequented, and still know those guys. So I was really stoked for them. That was like a massive deal for all of us. Like,
right. I actually remember them. That band, nice. Overwhelming Color Fast. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they had like some indie hits back in the day, didn't they? Or like just on the radio. Yeah,
they had the first record like got pushed a little bit. I remember them on 120 Minutes. And like Butch Vig produced that record, so it was a big deal. And,
oh wow, cool. Okay.
So I think.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had ever met him or not, because
years later. Years later, but
I am a big Misfits fan, and I'm a big Jerry only Misfits fan, which I don't know whether a lot of people would admit to that.
I like the Jerry only Misfits. I have no,
Yeah, I love it, man. I think it's great.
I saw the Graves lineup when they toured for American Psycho, and that was really good. And I like all the lineups, the Misfits. So.
Right. Do you like the new stuff that they're doing, like album wise?
Some songs, yeah. Some stuff. I think I like the Devil's Rain record. It could have had some great moments on it. And I think they could have cut a few songs.
Right. Yeah, no, I actually really dig that stuff. I know we're rambling, but that's the kind of thing we do. Here. So, people expect it, believe me. I'm going to ask some kind of weird questions because it's movies, music, and other stuff. So, I try to kind of go all over the place. Do you have a favorite superhero? And if so, why do you like him?
I've always been a Batman fan, so and I think it's just he has no superpowers thing. He's just
right,
a dude. So I think that's the cool thing about him.
Cool.
So,
cool. Okay. All right.
I was big into comic books like when I was younger teen and before that, and I don't know. I started kind of I don't know if I lost interest or what. Things started getting weird.
To me, it goes in cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I love comics. I still read like Swamp Thing, and I'll read some Batman stuff. When stuff comes out that piques my interest. What do you think about the movies?
Like the
Batman movies.
I've liked most of them. Like I'm still a big fan of the first Tim Burton Batman. Like that's still my favorite one. But
right,
I've liked all of them. I'm not like. I think because I stopped reading comics so long ago, I don't get that upset about not sticking to storylines and stuff.
Right,
but
sure.
I get tired of seeing the people redoing his origin story in every Batman movie. That gets really old now. It's like again, but I like the Gotham series a lot, and I love
that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I thought that show, man, was the perfect balance.
Yeah.
For Batman, because it was dark, but it was also kind of colorful and kind of goofy. Right. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Great casting and stuff.
Oh yeah, man.
Guys, Jim Gordon's awesome. So.
Yeah, Penguin was excellent too. I love that guy, man.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose one movie or TV series to watch, what would it be? And you can choose a movie and a TV series if you want.
I'm really into the Lord of the Rings movies. Those are probably favorite. And then TV series, that's kind of tough. Yeah, I don't know. It all depends on genre wise and stuff because I love The Office and Parks and Recreation and
that's most what people say. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, those are things that I love. King of the Hill. Anytime I watch that series, over and over again. So.
Oh yeah, and not only that, but if you live in Texas, you realize that that's really the way it is.
Right.
Since it's Halloween, favorite horror show or horror movie, or both.
I like all the George Romero zombie movies have always been kind of my favorites. So I like all the ones that he's done, and then I don't know if because it borderlines on everything big X-Files fan. So it has moments of horror and sci-fi and all kinds of stuff into it. So that's probably as far as TV series have gone. I tried getting into Walking Dead, couldn't. I think I watched the first season, loved it, and then they did the second season. They were on the farm the whole time, and I couldn't get past that season. So just started boring me. So,
Yeah, I saw the first episode, and that's the only one I ever saw. I liked it. I just never could follow it. I mean, it just my wife hates horror, so there was no way it was. Yeah, there was no way it was going to happen for me.
I was a much bigger horror fan, like probably before I got married, so 10 years ago. Like,
Right.
was way more into it. And
Yeah, yeah, I fit a horror film in every once in a while. you know. But cool, okay. Yeah, Romero's yeah, definitely. I saw Land of the Dead at the premiere, and I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was really cool as far as the commentary, like the social commentary.
that's what he's really good at. I think all those, like, how people would react. He really nails that.
Right. Wouldn't it be interesting? I was just thinking about this the other day. Wouldn't it be interesting to get his take on what's going on now?
Oh, totally. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Yeah, I wonder what his commentary would be.
Yeah.
It's very
Definitely.
interesting. um, would you? I don't even really need to ask this for me, but for other people, I mean, obviously, you consider yourself to be a religious person.
Right. Yeah.
How does that affect your career choices? Like, I guess band wise, and even like, I don't know what you do as far as what you as far as work goes, or if you just do music.
Um,
But how does
work,
it affect that?
Well, I'd say for work it helps a lot because I'm on what's called IHSS. It's where I'm my son's caretaker. My son has autism, so that's pretty much my job, is taking care of him.
Okay.
I don't like a lot about California, but this program is one of the only ones in the country where they can pay the parent to be the caretaker. So
wow, that's cool.
Really amazing here. It's what's keeping us here, and so
right.
My faith helps me get through all of that, being a parent and being caretaker, and I mean, there's a lot of prayer involved, and it helps me to be a more calm person, patient person, loving person. So
right.
Then, music, I think it's opened up opportunities because, like, I've been into Christian music since I was 8 years old. So getting to work with people like Mike and Jim and all the people I've worked with, it's for me amazing. Like, I know it's not like a big deal outside of the scene, I guess, but I've had such a passion and love for it for so long, and met a lot of people through that. I wrote for there was a zine called Down the Line Zine. I wrote for them for a while and did a lot of interviews and reviewed albums and stuff. So I met a lot of people through that are from Christian music. So
cool.
It's pretty awesome for me. So.
Yeah, no, I totally understand where you're coming from. I used to write for HM.
Cool.
So I mean, yeah, I love, it's about what you're happy with, man. I mean,
right.
yeah, and I feel the same way you do about that. What you mentioned a period where you kind of veered out of the Christian music scene, I guess.
Yeah.
Did that have something to do with personal? Did you I don't want to say fall away, but did you get away from Christianity for a while?
Yeah, quite a while, probably from the time I was, say 19, 20 up until late 30s. I was,
okay.
I don't know, got into a lot of odd Gnosticism stuff and just new agey type stuff, beliefs and stuff. And then as far as back then, I was just trying to, when I was younger, I just wanted to make it in a band.
Sure.
I was down in the whole Oakland, Berkeley punk rock scene, where you've got Green Day and Rancid and all these bands coming out of that. So I was very involved in that as well as all the Christian music stuff at the same time. And like, so it was, you know, had high hopes back then and was
Right.
trying to get it, but didn't work out. It's tough business.
So what brought you back? I mean, was it just like a conscious decision on your part, or was it like, did you like do some serious soul searching and kind of just go, wow, you know?
So I had, since I was a kid, I don't know if you know what sleep paralysis is, but you freeze up at night, feels like you're being grabbed, you can't move, can't
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
I had that for a lot of years, and about 6 years ago, I was able to cry out to Jesus. Like, I even wrote some of the songs on the Cast the Dragon stuff kind of goes into this. So, and since that time, it all stopped. So it was like, and it was a very like kind of demonic presence that was in the room all the time, every time that happened. And I'd see weird shadowy things in the room. And so pretty much since that, I was like, I need to get back into this. That stopped it. So I'm very much, very, very dedicated back into being to Jesus, following Christ. And prayer life is, it's such a different experience than how I was growing up in church. And it was just kind of a routine back then, to where now it's a passion. Like, so I'm on my church worship team now and very involved in the church. And
Cool.
that's pretty much all I read about. Like, you know, so my library is about a lot of documentaries. Like,
Okay.
so
Do you still study? I don't want to say study, but I guess do you still examine like other religions, or try to kind of like to where you have a balance? Like if you're talking to somebody that's like maybe into not progressive Christianity, New Age or that sort of thing.
yeah, I mean, I know enough about that from all the years of being into that type of stuff. So
Okay.
I can definitely have a conversation. There's
See, I've had, because there's a lot of Christians now.
trying to find this book that I have. This book right here called Josh Peck, Steve Vankerst wrote this, and it's called The Second Coming of the New Age, and it really they were both guys that were really, really into it, like way deeper than I ever got, and came out of it and came to Christ. So
Yeah, because sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you can go ahead.
It seems like a lot of our contemporaries have kind of fallen into that.
Yeah.
From the early days, or from the like mid 90s, like a lot of the bands.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happens?
I think a lot of it, people based a lot of their faith more on what man is doing, and they didn't like the outcome.
Yes.
Of how people treated them. The focus wasn't on God. It was more on Christians and how they were reacting and stuff. So I think that's why a lot of people fall away, like, and get into other things, and because there's a lot of churches don't really get into the supernatural aspect of this all, and there's a definite supernatural side to this. I mean, I know people with deliverance ministries, and they're really hardcore into that, like, so it's
interesting. So do you consider yourself, I'll cut this if you want me to. I'm not trying to,
okay.
Do you consider yourself to be like conservative? Do you consider yourself to be middle of the road, progressive,
I'd say
progressive?
I'd say I went from progressive and I'm conservative now. So.
Okay. Like very conservative, or just like more conservative than you were?
More conservative than I was, for sure. but not like I don't condemn people for anything.
Okay. Right. That's what, yeah.
Very, very loving guys.
Right. Yeah. The pandemic has changed my attitude about a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near as conservative as I thought I was.
Mhm.
But I'm also not like, I don't know. I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus, and I believe in what, if you lead by his example, or if you go by his example, a lot of what's happening ain't right. Like from coming from like the political end of things. That's all. We'll leave that alone now. I'm not trying to get me or you in trouble.
That's fine.
So tell us a little bit about like this latest Cast the Dragon release, and tell us a little bit about the influence behind it. We'll just start with that. Go ahead.
Okay. So say musical influences were a lot of the horror punk stuff, because I love that the crooner vocal type thing over the punk. And then, like I said, big Ramones fan, big Misfits fan, TSOL and those type of bands. And then really, really Scattered Fuse been like one of my favorite bands forever. So they're a big influence. So it's got a lot of that. The lyrical stuff was from just reading a lot of books by like Steve Quayle and Rob Skiba, Tom Horn. Trying to think, a lot of books on spiritual warfare. I study Genesis 6, like Nephilim stuff a lot. So there's some of that in there. And as the album was going on, I started very more into wanting to do like some praise and worship songs. So there's a few of those on there too. Some government conspiracy stuff on there, like talk about Bohemian Grove and all of that. And so yeah, it's kind of all over the place. Like, I don't know. It's kind of what I always wanted to see Christian punk bands get into a little deeper. Because a lot of them, like I love Christian punk rock, but a lot of it's just a lot of I used to drink a lot, now I don't type of vibe.
Right.
It's not, I don't know. There should be a little more depth going on. And that's what I was really hoping to get into. So.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting because the horror aspect I definitely picked up on. I'm gonna have to go back now and check out some of the other lyrics and stuff for the one that you just put out. Because obviously, because I'm into that stuff. I'm into like the Misfits and stuff like that. I immediately was like, okay, I get what this guy's doing. I was like, I'm understanding where this is coming from. I asked Sean this from Gravedigger, and it would affect him more than it would you, just because of their outward appearance. How do people react to, and maybe you haven't had time for this because you haven't been able to play live, or have you?
You have not.
Okay, yeah. How do people?
We just live all so far apart, so I don't have a guitar player because I play guitar and bass on the record. So
right. So have you had people like respond negatively towards the weird, like, or what they would consider to be weird, the darker, like, horror lyrics?
Not yet. It's still, I guess, kind of a new record. I could be expecting that to happen. I've had a guy, he's doing a review of the album, like ask me a lot of questions about some of the lyrics. So, but he's been cool. So
cool. Okay. All right. What are you planning on doing with Cast the Dragon? Is it just something that you're kind of like riding the crest and seeing what happens at this point?
Pretty much. I mean, I want to do another record for sure. I'd love to do live shows, but with pandemic going on and everybody living far apart, I don't know if that's going to happen. So
right. Right. You maybe do some festival stuff if that ever happens again.
Yeah, I could probably like if the Blamed was playing at something, or
Right.
I know the Grave Robber guys pretty well. I could probably maybe have them back me up. Like, I'd love to just sing and not have to play and sing because that's
Right.
to me. I
Right.
don't. Some people, it's just easy to them, and it's not for me. Like, and this is the first band I've ever like fronted, I guess. So it's
Right.
I don't totally have that personality on stage. Like,
Right.
to
No,
keep the
yeah,
between songs and all that. So that's a gift, man. But
it is. It is. But you'd be surprised what you can do.
yeah,
Um, since we're talking a little bit about the just the genre of horror punk, um, what how do you feel about like I know that like Michael Graves and Jerry Only, and I think even Doyle at one point consider themselves to be Christians.
right.
Um, how do you think they balance? And I know that this is just your opinion, but how do you feel like they balance the different worlds, like the Misfits, Danzig, and Christianity?
Yeah, that's a tough one because like the old Misfits with Danzig, those lyrics, man, like they're gnarly. Like,
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it totally. Yeah, and I mean, I know that there has to be that as you get older and wiser, it's kind of like you just realize that some of it's a show,
right.
you know. Um, I mean, we're my band's actually about to do a cover of Skulls, but I changed
Okay.
some of the lyrics. Some of the lyrics I changed slightly. um, but yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot lately for some reason. Um, maybe it's because I'm interviewing you and I interviewed Grave Robber and stuff, and because it's Halloween. Because for some reason I always end up pulling out my Misfit stuff around Halloween time or the deadlines, that kind of thing.
Right.
Um, but I mean, how do you think they do that? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm not going to interrupt you again. Go.
Could be maybe they just had this as a job. It's really hard to say. I mean, I even think of like Brian Head Welch and Fieldy and Korn, like they've got a good balance of that because they before and after shows will go and pray for people and then they do Korn. So it's I don't know. I really don't know because my stuff like I try to get a little more into I guess real life horror stuff. Like a couple of the songs mentioned like satanic ritual abuse and stuff like that because I know people that counsel people that have been through that and stuff. So I've read a lot about it. So that's a tough call. I really don't know.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I mean, like I said, it kind of like comes into my head sometimes. I'm like, because I mean, like the Michael Graves Misfits and the Jerry Only period Misfits, you can tell that it's all about the horror movies.
Right.
And just
It's a more family friendly Misfits, I guess. Like
yeah, and it's more fun. It's like fun oriented kind of.
I just remember the first time I started reading the Danzig lyrics, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. And I still love them. It's just that, you're like, whoa, man, I didn't realize that's what he was saying.
Right.
But
that genre in general, it's one of those tough things for me because like I love the vibe of it. I love the way it sounds, but lyrically doesn't do it for me. I'm like, there's a lot of like sexual songs and weird,
right. That's why I really enjoy the Jerry Only and Michael Graves stuff because it's I don't want to say it's safe, but it's more fun, tongue in cheek,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was just wondering, like, what your opinion on that was, because yeah, I mean, it was. Let me put it this way: when the Misfits brought back, when they did their original Misfits, and Danzig came back, I was like, how in the world are they doing that?
Right.
Like, I mean, like personally, how are they all right with that? Because I mean, I don't know. It was weird for me. I'm not judging him by any means. I'm just saying that.
It's good money, man.
Oh no, I trust me. I know that. I'm really surprised they haven't done a new record with him.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for that because Danzig on one of his, he did like a cover tunes album. There was a one track called Devil's Angels. It was like a song from some old B movie that they did, and it totally sounded like old Misfits. So I was like,
Yeah,
really, they would put something out, but it didn't happen. So
yeah, I'm really surprised they didn't, man. I mean, that's interesting, and I'm really surprised that they didn't put out a live album
right.
of them playing like one of their shows. I'm real surprised in that, and it has to. I mean, I'm sure it's Danzig. I'm sure Jerry would love to do it.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are you? What's your goal? I guess your end goal with Cast the Dragon, and what would you want people to take away from it that listen to it?
It's very much like if even I can reach one person with the lyrics who's gone through some of the things that I've gone through or can relate to what I'm talking about and bring them to Christ, that'd be end goal. Like it's a ministry in a sense. I'd love it for it to go far, but just my life in general. I'm here because this is where I'm supposed to be, like taking care of my son,
Sure.
doing that. So, but yeah, I mean, if somebody likes the record and it reaches them, because I mean, punk rock scene's just it's full of a lot of people that do a lot of bad things. So I was in and around it like most of my life. So, and I went down some bad paths because of being around that scene and who I was around and with, and did all kinds of, immoral things because of it. So,
do you feel now that you're older, you feel more comfortable? I know I do, about it just being something that you do because you love it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. And I'd say probably the last, as far as my own music, probably the last 10 years at least have been that. The stuff I did with Mike Nott, I wanted some people to notice it. Like,
oh, sure. Yeah, man. And you still want, I mean,
some people would be like, oh, this is a good Knot record. Like, I really like the Heaven High Lifesavers album we did a lot. Like, I think we knocked it out of the park on that one, and people still are still discovering it. They're like, oh, I didn't know Lifesavers put a new record out. And I think we did that 5 years ago, maybe more. So
yeah, no, and I mean, even Cast the Dragon, I mean, I think you want people to hear it.
oh, totally.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, it's just, it seems to me like it's more fulfilling once you like figure out that you're not trying to do it to make a living.
Right.
You're just trying to do it,
I'd love to break even, on expenses, but
sure. Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I can't stop writing music.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I understand. I get what you're saying totally. I got out of it for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like altogether, completely music. I was like, I can't do this anymore. But recently I got dragged back in, and man, I love it. I forgot how much I love it.
Yeah.
What? Pick a song that you want to talk about off of Cast the Dragon, and like just kind of go into detail on what it means to you or why it's important to you.
So I'd say like the "Scream Out His Name" song, that one really got into the what I was talking about with the sleep paralysis and calling out to Jesus and stuff. Because I know a lot of people go through that. There was a documentary called "The Nightmare." It was on Netflix for a while that went over it, and they interviewed 10 people in it, and the only person that got it to stop was the only person who was able to call out to Jesus in it. Everybody else in the documentary tried a lot of different new age things and a lot of therapy, and they still haven't. Some of it got worse after a while. So I think it opens those doors into that spiritual realm, that because it's definitely a spiritual thing going on. There's no scientific explanation for what's happening to these people and stuff. So that one's a pretty big deal. And then I really like the last song on the beginning and the end. That was the first time I tried to do like praise and worship song. I think I hit it pretty good on that. Like I did a lot of praying before it, and I don't know. It's one of the songs I really like listening to that's on it.
So have you been delivered of the sleep paralysis?
Yeah, it's completely stopped since that day. So that definitely got me like taking everything a lot more serious, like as far as my faith and not veering off or not taking anything lightly with it.
So how long did you suffer with it?
Since I was a young child. Like,
oh, wow. Okay. So
it increased over the years. Like the more I got into darker things in my life, the more it opens that door for more of it to happen. So, but I remember being a little kid and having it happen. So, and it's one of those, I don't know what starts it. I don't know if it's a fear I had as a child that like that kind of opens that door for something to come in and like freak you out for years. And
right.
Kind of.
Do you feel like you were talking about how you watch horror films, but more so before you were married than now?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that has something to do with it? Or do you think that that's kind of blown out of proportion by the media?
It's probably, that's a tough call. If that's all you're feeding into your mind is that, because when I was in Denver, I was in a horror punk band that I'd say we took it like we almost took a Spinal Tap approach to the horror punk band back then. It was really goofy and campy, but we had a lot of satanic imagery.
Okay.
The characters were all really based on like House of a Thousand Corpses type vibe and stuff like that. So, because I think that's a big difference now with Cast of the Dragons. Like I didn't do like the character aspect of most horror punk bands. You have a character that you play. You have a different name and all that. So
right.
I think lyrically, I took more of a Dead Kennedys type approach lyrically to things, because they sing about some dark stuff, some political stuff, and some campy stuff. So
right,
a lot of that going on. But I'd say back then when I was in that horror punk band, I really opened myself up to a lot of things, because I was going through a divorce at that time that was really bad, and going through, it was probably the lowest point of my life. So I think the adversary, for lack of a better term, like sees those openings and will come at you that way. So
totally. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just, of course, being from our age group, we grew up in the, I call it the satanic panic.
Right.
Period. Burning records, burning DVDs or movies, not DVDs, VHS, I just was wondering where you came like out on that as far as that, because It seems like you're much, much more balanced than most people that heavily believe, and not that I don't, I do, but that heavily believe in the supernatural and heavily believe in demonic forces and spirituality in general.
Right.
Most people are much more stirred. What's the right word? Strict. Like they think the devil's around the corner, like everywhere.
Right.
It seems to me like you're a little bit more balanced in, yeah, this stuff is for real, but I don't think that watching The Thing or watching Friday the 13th is going to necessarily, put you over the edge.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well,
And I
cool.
think within the horror genre, there are certain areas, like as I was like getting into that more and more, like all the Japanese like torture movies and stuff that like kind of like there's parts of the horror genre I'm just like, wow, I can't go there. So like,
Yeah, I don't either, man. I don't either. I like a lot of the J horror supernatural stuff, like The Grudge, The Ring, A Tale of Two Sisters. I like that stuff, but yeah, I'm not really into the torture stuff, man. I mean, I'm not really a big, like even like Hostel and stuff like that.
Yeah, those kind of movies have just left me like feeling gross afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely more into like the supernatural horror stuff because I believe that it is true. I believe that it can be true. I mean, definitely so. Not that the torture stuff can be true either.
Right.
Because it can be. But yeah. Yeah, I don't get into it really. Is there anything you want to say in closing? I know we've been rambling a lot, but I honestly kind of felt comfortable talking to you about certain things because you're a little bit more open in the Christian religious aspect of things.
Gosh, in closing, I don't know. Let's just say, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have anything to add, so.
How about listen to Cast the Dragons?
That'd be great.
Or Cast the Dragon. Sorry.
We're on all the digital outlets. We're going to be getting CDs pressed soon, so.
Cool. Very cool. Are you doing that by yourself or is somebody helping you out with that?
Thumper Punk Records.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. I'm sorry. I knew that. I did know that.
So stoked that I was going to put something out on Skyburns Black Records, but that label started to kind of fall apart. And then I was going to put it out on my own, and David from Thumper Punk had me send him the rough mixes I did. And he's like, I love this record. And I'll put it out. Because I think I'm one of the only like studio project bands that's on there, really. I mean, most of the bands are touring bands and play gigs and stuff. So
sure.
But I think being that I had Jim and all the people that worked on it.
Right. Yeah. That's always a good thing,
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that you've got a little history too, man. I mean, don't shortchange yourself. Playing with Mike Knott and some of those other guys, man, that doesn't hurt.
No, not at all. So.
All right. Well, hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You got it. And definitely check out Cast the Dragon. And that's it.